in 2024. I'm believing for more in 2024.
Oh gosh. All right, we are live, sir. Go ahead. You said 2024. You believing for more, huh?
I'm believing more in 2024. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. You know, shoot, man.
Oh my
Don't worry.
goodness,
The blessings will rain in. The blessings will rain in soon enough. I know.
Right. No doubt.
Oh man. So, all right. Welcome to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. I'm your host, Mr. Charles Dixon. I am here with Mr. Adam Ford, my illustrious co-host. How are you, sir?
What's up, fam? How y'all doing today? Happy New Year to everybody. I'm doing good, man. Got a new year.
That's what I was going to say. That's it. Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome to 2024. Man, hey, listen, you know, by way of a smidget of current events, man, when I tell you 2024, we already just 4 days in, and when I tell you it is coming in like a freight train. My goodness.
Yeah.
From one thing to the next, we under some fire, man. Some fire, folks is under fire. Hello, everybody. Hello, Miss Trish, Miss Tamu. How are you, everyone?
What's up, y'all?
Everyone, keep coming on into the room. Come on into the room. All right. Okay.
So what you talk about? This everything happening. What's going on? What you talking about?
Oh man, it's so much fun. I mean, you know what it is? We at the end of last year, I guess this dragging and come out from amongst them spirit has been lingering around. It's like from, this is the we telling era. I am telling on you. That's what this is. Everybody is telling, and it's just like I'm telling over here. I'm telling over here. Look, I'm telling in the church house, out the church house, in the party, over here. You lied. You didn't tell that you did this.
Yeah.
It's pandemonium. It's like wow. So if you're a human person with a pulse and you're listening to any of this, you got to be honest and say it. It does affect you a bit. It makes listening to it, you just kind of like seeing how the world is moving. It's like wow, what is really happening here? So definitely something to pay attention to for sure.
Skeletons and bodies coming out the closet.
Yes, they're coming out that closet. I promise you that. Make you want to look in your closet and vacuum. Be like, hold on.
Okay. You had to do some.
I do in 2022. No, I'm just what I do in 2022. No, you just gotta be thinking to yourself, it's time to clean. You better get everybody should sweep around their own front door. Because I'll tell you, the trash collecting people are coming. They are coming to collect the trash. You better put your stuff out on the curb and run back out.
You better get it out.
They coming to get the drag, whomever. If you hanging out, it's almost like it puts you in the mindset of back in the day. They had every now and then when crime would get at a certain level, where I grew up in Southeast DC, they would have what you call the curfews, right? So now it looks like there is a cyber curfew occurring in life. Like basically get off of your block, right, and go to your house, or you being checked for whatever you did. That's what it's seeming like it's happening right now.
Over there loitering on the stool, on a step. Stop sitting on the step. Go inside your house.
That's it. Hello, Miss Danielle. Everybody come on in. All right. So today is going to be one of those days, people, with this topic that we are talking about today. God at the center. The solution to love's conundrum. Listen. Now, you guys heard us talk about these shows, and we talked about various topics. This topic right here is this is really close to home, right? This topic right here is not only nostalgic, it's going to call for me to tap into my upbringing, if you will, my spiritual upbringing. If I'm going to be true to this topic, I'm going to have to just give it 100 the way I have been. I'm only going to give my perspective the way it was taught to me, or it was shown to me as I came up, right? So, of course, everybody has their own perspective. Heck, some people may even have a different version of God. Be that as it may, I'm only going to give it from my perspective, right? I'm going to let that be that. And I'm just going to try to walk into this, and me and Adam here, we're going to try to just describe this, how this looks to us from our perspective. And we definitely want you guys to do what you always do and chime in with those great nuggets and go from there. So when I thought of this, I said it's I said to myself, it's only befitting that we start the new year off, with the foundational preface of what makes for a healthy relationship and successful one. Just from our perspective.
Right.
We don't know it all. We're just throwing in the hat what we think. So before we start off, Mr. Ford, you got anything you want to tap into? Before I get to reading.
Why are you acting all like you a little scared, like you a little shy right now?
I'm sorry, God. I'm gonna go ahead and tell the truth. No. I'm gonna tell the truth today. Okay, all right. No, anyway, seriously.
You're hesitating. No, but I think this is a good way to start off the new year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You started with the right priority in place. You get things on point in terms of what direction you're going in, and then how you gonna get there? How you gonna make it? How you gonna accomplish whatever that particular goal is? And so, I think this is definitely a good way to start it. I was surprised, to say the least, when I saw the topic. I was like,
"Oh yeah." So
wait a minute,
I can't talk about God. Okay.
I was like, is he gonna get saved again? Is he coming back to Jesus?
Oh God! So listen. When you all hear, at least, I'm gonna speak for myself. When you hear me speak today on this, just kind of play in your mind as I'm just a brand new person you've never met before, and you're just hearing me speak on this topic. Okay, I don't. Let's keep in mind. Let's throw out all the backslidden stories and all of the hellacious occurrences in life.
You gotta keep some of them. That's the reason why.
Envision me doing this. Envision me just being a new person, a new convert, talking about God at the center. We're gonna go from there. All right.
Okay.
So, all right. I'm gonna go from here. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with some of these notes. I'm gonna go through them really quick, y'all. It is very difficult to place God at the center of something that's divided, because He sees division as confusion. What am I saying? In whatsoever state you find yourselves in as a couple, there must be alignment. Am I on par, Mr. Ford? I have to make sure he's my fact checker here. Make sure everything is straight. All right.
Right. I got you.
Now, before I go forward, the preface for this show came as a result of some conversations I was privy to, inboxes and things where people express their interest in, they'll be talking about relationships or people that they're looking for or trying to find. And it's always a narrative of, if it's a woman, she's just saying, well, where are all of the men of God, or the men that are or trying to be leaders, or men that believe in God, who don't mind going to church, or whatever those things. And then on the other side, you may have the men that will say, well, all the women out here nowadays is practicing XYZ. So where are these quote unquote virtuous women that the Bible speaks of? That sort of thing, right? So you got that going on. So I said to myself, okay, let's Adam and I take a stab at what this whole thing about placing God at the center looks like. So, okay, I started off there with saying there has to be alignment, because basically there can be no centering if there is no balance. What is balance? Mutual alignment concerning your position on God. Being the go-to, basically both of you are saying God is our go-to source along the journey of our relationship, or if marriage is the thing, marriage. Okay. So basically how I see it is keeping the balance keeps the grace. Keeping the grace keeps the vision. Okay. Keeping the vision keeps the peace. This is why we need Him at the center. Now, all right, this is where it gets tricky. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of us, we approach life in an as-is condition. We show up to our people, whether we're dating, whether we're in a relationship. Heck, even in marriage, we show up as, this is who I am, this is it. And we say to ourselves, yeah, we together, we just going to get through this because you should know, I think I know, and the rest is just going to work itself out. Basically, there is no guide, if you will, guiding the structure of what should be this relationship and or marriage. It's just, we just, as we call it, we willy-nilly, right? Adam, you good? I need to always say that. Just kind of willy-nilly. So I'm saying this to say, if you are a person who subscribes to saying, I believe in God, I believe in the concept of God, then the source that both parties must tap into is the word of God, right? In that word spells out all of his expectations along the way, right? And so that's where it gets tough, because a lot of us will say, yeah, go ahead on, even heck, we hear, I've been in a part of enough weddings, and I have heard the preacher say, and as long as y'all keep God first and keep people out your business. And people are like, that's right, amen. That part, when folks leave the wedding and live their life, right? You don't see God at the center, right? You just see people living them lives. Somebody think they know better than the other one. I'm smarter than you. I'm more spiritual. I'm more saved, or whatever, if that's your case. And then people live out their life. So what I'm trying to get us to clarify today, and with your help, sir, is number one, what does, when we hear that, just what does keeping him first and keeping him at the center look like? I'll let you go first on
that. You're gonna let me go first when you already talked. Anyway, you already said to me. Right. So yeah, I think for any relationship to have any chance or degree of success, you definitely should have God as the center of your relationship. But then you have to ask the question, and this is the question that you really need to ask: is God your center? Because he can't be the center unless he's your center. You're going to introduce God into something that you haven't introduced yourself to. So you want to bring God into a situation where you haven't brought him into your situation. I'm talking about in terms of him being in your heart, in terms of him being in your life. Okay. So that's one level. Here's the next level. Okay. So yeah, you're bringing God into your relationship, and you want him to be the center of that relationship. Well, part of it has to do with the fact that, are you listening to him? Or are you just including him as a quote unquote formality, if you will? Because we all like to say that God is the center of our lives, or he's the center of our relationships. But is he just a figurehead, and you're really the person behind the throne, pulling the string, all that type of thing? Yeah. Or are you really listening to what he says? Fine 29 says obedience. That's key. Obedience all day, submission all day. And I'm not talking about to each other. I'm talking about to him. Because if you really want to include God, and if you really want him to be the center of your relationship, that means that your ear is inclined to his voice. You're listening to what he has to say. But not only are you listening, but you're actually doing what he's telling you to do. And often, a lot of times, we aren't doing what he's telling us to do. That's why we often end up in relationships that don't work out, because we're not listening to the picker. We're not listening to the guide. We're doing what we want to do. We treat God as an option, not an essential when it comes to our relationships. You know what I'm saying? He's an optional thing, like a piece of furniture or a coffee table, if you will. But he's not essential, like the air that you breathe and the water that you drink in order to be able to live. So God has to become something that is essential to your life, so that not only are you surviving, but you're succeeding in life. So I think that's key. I think that's the one thing that's going to determine your success or your failure in this life.
Yeah, that's good. When I think of this, the things that come to mind is you must have order, which is reflective of the both of you engulfing the word. Like, you know, you're regurgitating back what you've been fed to taking in the word, right? So that's going to show up in the order of the relationship / marriage. And then here's the ugly part that we all like to sometimes ignore.
Okay.
There must be, in order to make room for God being at the center, there must be not only individual submission to the mission, right?
Okay.
There has to be mutual submission to God.
Yes.
Both parties have to mutually say, both parties have to say, and so what that looks like is I hear someone in the atmosphere saying, what you mean, mutual? What does that look like? You know what it looks like? That means, you know, when we face a situation or when something comes, and whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, but if it comes to us as a unit, then we say, in other words, you know how they say, what would Jesus do, right? What would Jesus do in this situation? So we have to say to ourselves, what is the move that we should make? Let us pray to get an answer, right? This isn't the time for one person to show up and lord over the situation and say, that's the way, because you're taking too long. This is the answer, right? So it has to come from that submissive side of either of you, because sometimes we're not going to both be submissive at the same time. Someone's going to be in their feelings, somebody's going to be in their emotions, somebody's going to be upset. It could be the man or the woman. But that's where that prayer portion comes in, to kind of balance things out and center things, so that we both can be level-headed enough to be able to receive what we are asking for from God, right? Get that answer. If you don't get to that place, you don't get that. So that's why, Danielle said it perfectly, that humility is what brings down that temperance. Like, you got to bring that humble part has to be in there, because it's hard to connect with someone who is haughty, right? It's really hard to connect with anybody that's haughty, and that can fall on any one of the two at any given time. So that arrogance thing is a very sneaky thing that can sneak into your relationship and have someone thinking they are, elevated spiritually above the other. He speaks to me when I was in the car and he touched me on the shoulder and asked me to get some Starbucks. We always got people like that, right? People who think they know all of the stuff, so whatever. So to make a long story short, you got to be humble, and you got to be in a state of submission to be able to. It's like saying you both are in the car, the passenger seat's here, the driver's here, and you got to be able to say, hold on, sweetie, or hold on, baby. We got to bring him here with us so that he can ride this out, because we want to make sure we making the right turns. We navigating this thing correctly, because what I may feel is right may be totally wrong, even though I'm calling myself the figurehead, right? But if I'm not listening to what's being told to me, I can be wrong too. Doesn't matter. A lot of us, I've heard a lot of men over the years, especially in church, where they feel as though if I said it, I said it because I'm the man. But it doesn't make you correct.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
If you're in a state of just stubbornness, and you're not opening your spirit to receive what God is saying to you, then you're not going to come across in a way that your wife even wants to listen to you, right? Or follow you. That's just the blanket truth. So that's where we always want to be. I guess the word I'm looking for is both parties should be in the best posture to receive from one another.
Absolutely.
It should be a beautiful reciprocal experience.
Yes.
You should be in a space where they're respecting you, you're respecting them, and when that word comes from either of you, it falls on good ground, right? It's it's not in a bad place. It's being well received, and people are like, okay, well, we can do this. Look at Bruce. Oh, here go Bruce. Bruce gonna turn the corner. We can count on Bruce. Bruce says we can be wrong totally while feeling right. That's it. That is it right there. That happens all the time. A lot of times people will be in the dead wrong and will fight that thing to the end, and which can delay. Look, it delays the pathway that we're trying to get to. That's like saying, Adam, you know where we both from, the DMV, and Bruce. Let's just say we up here by the National Harbor, and we know the direction that King's Dominion is in, right? But in the car, say, I'm telling you, I know where it is. and we drive all the way up 295 and end up at the Baltimore Harbor. So we listen. If we would have listened, we would have realized we need to go south, not north. That's not the time to flex your wings and try to be strong and smart on one another. That's the time to be humble and say, you know what, you may be right.
Yeah.
And so I think in short, keeping God at the center is both parties being level-headed enough to say, when we get into these difficult moments, instead of us leaning into our own understanding, we are saying, I am open and humble enough to defer to what he prefers for us, not me. I'm deferring. It's like saying you're always in a state of open deference. Yeah. I'm open to do what he wants and he's requiring of me, and it's not all about me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it should be. I mean, so here's the thing. If you're in a relationship, just bear with me. If you're in a relationship, then that means it's not all about you. It's actually about the other person, right? That's the reason why you got in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship for it to be all about you, then that was very narcissistic and selfish of you. But the fact that I'm in a relationship means that I want to care for and take care of somebody else. Okay, that's on the side. That was a freebie right there. Okay, so check this out right here. Check this out.
Okay.
So often, if I'm being honest, you know, my wife will come to me with information that I may not have known, and I have to be in a position to be able to say, first of all, I don't know everything. And I think some of us want to act like we know everything when we don't know that we don't know. And that's the fact. That's truth right there. You know what I'm saying? But I have to be humble enough. I have to be in touch enough, and I have to be connected enough to my spouse to be able to say, she knows something that I don't know. So let me listen to what she has to say. And if it requires me to be humble and submissive in order to receive that information that I need to have, then that's what I do. I don't lose anything in the process of humbling myself. I don't lose anything in submitting myself. If anything, I gain. And I think sometimes we think about this relationship thing almost to the point where we made it a competition with one another to see who can outdo the other. You know what I'm saying? But it ain't about that. It's about us helping one another. Since we're already in the God verse, if you will, the reality is that we're all supposed to be connected to one another. We're all a part of the body of Christ. And Paul says it in the book of Ephesians, and again, not to make this a Sunday school lesson, but just to kind of talk about this here, that each joint supplies another. Each joint can supply one another unless we're submitted to each other and we're connected to each other and we're willing to receive what the other person may have for us. Because again, we don't know everything. And if anybody comes to you telling you that they know everything, you need to run as fast as you can, because that's not the person. But if I'm open enough to receive from you what I need to have, what I don't have, then we can all make it to where we're going.
Yes, I absolutely agree. The shift is occurring, Adam. Bruce brought up a good point that was actually going to be my pivoting at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
Bruce started it and everyone else started coming. Bruce says, and so let's take Bruce's question to not just mean the man to the woman concept, but the woman to the man as well. But it's a good point. Bruce says, how do we navigate that when most women / let's just say men, we choose love God, but not his word? This is where the shift happens. All right. I was going to say this early on, but it's a perfect timing to say this.
Might as well.
The other misconception that we have about placing God at the center, right? He cannot be at the center of somewhere that he does not reside in you both. Let's say that again. He cannot be at the center of somewhere where there is not already a mutual existence. Reflecting him. If you want him to sit there.
Right.
Now, we're not talking about permissive praying while the person is out there doing all God knows what, and you at home saying it's going to be all right. In an ideal situation, we are to choose people that not only complements our life, but also shows a reflection of the life that we desire in Christ, right? In an ideal world. And so this is where it gets sticky, because if we're in guilty myself, I'm putting myself on the chopping block, and I'm only talking from the non-married side, Adam. You can take up the other side, but on the non-married side of the ball, people, you find person, choose person, like person, relationship with person, you're moving on and all those things. But in the midst of those things, if we're honest, not everything that occurs is God at the center like actions. Right? So remember, will he be at the center of those actions? No, right? So we got to keep that thing in mind. If we're honest, a lot of us start off with the oh my goodness, and it's not always sexual. Sometimes these things that he's not at the center of, it's just the places we choose to go, the company we choose to keep, the vile words we say out of our mouth, the nasty demeanors we have towards one another, which are a reflection of him not being present in our life, right? We get up there and we talk all kinds of mess to one another and crazy stuff just because, right? But then we turn around and say, but he at the center. No. If you're looking in that car and that glove compartment is empty, he ain't sitting in the glove between the two of y'all at that point. You're on your own. So that's why it is so important to be honest with yourself and say, am I choosing accordingly, or am I choosing just for me? You got to ask yourself that. Am I choosing accordingly by way of the mate that I am selecting or choosing to be in relationship with or choosing to give my time to, or am I choosing just for me? And if we are honest, a lot of us choose just for me. I'm gonna tell you, I hear them, how do you know? Because a lot of the times we don't even know the real matters of the person that we're with heart. We don't know the things that they're passionate about. We don't know the things that they're convicted about. You don't really even know their real moral code. You just know where they live, and you know they like to eat, and you know what their bed look like. That's what we know. But the other things that we should know, we don't know. And I'm not saying that things are dead because they may have happened, because we all know that there is always room for evolvement and change, right? If you choose to. So that's why I consider this kind of show like a pivoting show, right? Mentally. But honestly, it's a thing where it makes you check yourself and say, how long will we play the God game and not be in the game, right? How long will we play it by saying all the right things, projecting all the right this, that, and the other, when we know deep down inside, we are not being honest with ourselves. Let me tell you, for me, I'm gonna tell you what makes it hard for me personally. I came up, and I'm not saying that my mom was Jesus's daughter, right? Not she definitely gave her everything she wanted. No, but the point I'm making is this: when I saw my mother go from being just a regular good mother from the South to transitioning into the world of church, and then just becoming all into, like, sold out into it, but still being loving. Like, the one thing I will say, and I'm just keeping it 100. My mom was sold out into ministry, but she was never holier than thou. I can say, see, there's a difference. It's a difference between someone being sold out in terms of all of their decisions of their heart, the way that they love you, the way that they raise their children, the way that they just give love to all those around them. It's a difference when you see someone do that without it becoming spooky. So when I say spooky, we live in a day and time now where it's so much spookyism added on to some of these spiritual relationships.
Yeah.
And I mean, we are seers. God's talking to you 24 hours a day. You know what I'm supposed to be doing more than me. He don't talk to me.
Right.
All of these things. And so for me, when I put myself in the mind of moving and navigating through life in terms of in that spousal direction, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell me sometimes my mind reflects back to Cora Dixon, and I think of how she was as a woman of God. Now, granted, I'm not crazy. That was a different era and time in life, right? Many moons ago, life has changed. The world has changed. Everything that we think about in terms of how we do life is not the same. But I believe principles of being sold out to a cause never changes.
Yeah.
Right? The principle, life can do all it is, right? But the principles of who you are as a person and what that has chosen to say yes to a particular part of life is just what it is. It's a yes life, and all the things that you do from that point on are yes. Right. Now, what I did see, even though my parents were married, they didn't get married as Christians. They got married just regular. And my dad called himself pulling the slick one on my mom. My mother, if those of you all who knew the song "Doing the Butt" back in the day, right? We grew up all together. We grew up right across the street. So my mom and his mom were tight. They used to go to clubs, hang out, do all of those things. But she was still married and a good wife. She just used to go have her fun. Right. My dad, now, God rest his soul, knowing him as I grew to know him, he called himself, Cora, let's go ahead and go to this church on down the street. It's a nice church to check out. When really his whole motive was let me redirect your activities and take you somewhere where I think you'll be better suited. He told my mother church, she got all in. He pulled all out. Wow. So she went to church. He stayed home. Now, he wasn't a bad dad. He was always home every night. So it wasn't like he was in the street. He just, to me, looking at it from like the old school days to now, he just wanted her out of harm's way, Bruce. He wanted her off the club. He didn't want her in the streets or whatever. So, but see, my mom was passionate about everything she did in terms of her centering. She came home and respected my dad. She did all the wifely things, but she gave God his, right? So she did that. And so there were many times my father would say, "You going to church again? You're doing this again?" And so for him, I knew that, but she would be like, I think we used to get on his nerves because she would always get him with the calm response. She wouldn't get turned up like he would want her to. She was like, "I'm going to Bible study and I'll come home after." And he'd be like, "All right." So anyway, so she would go to church or whatever, come home and still be the good wife. That was that. So that was the bane of their existence. But the point I'm making is I've seen what it looks like to see someone sold out for something. So sometimes in the world that we live in today, you see sold out and you see sold out / still trying to hold out. Right? The Christians today is a little different. We don't want to totally be all in there. We want to be able to go over here and entertain this, take a little sip of that, give me a little bit of sex to that. We want to do all of these things when traditionally those are not the things that keep God at the center until a person chooses to cross over. I'm gonna hand the baton to you, Mr. Ford, to the married side.
You said a lot, bro. What?
Man. Yeah, man. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Dang, what in the world? Let me just go ahead and Right. Okay, so when it comes to the married life in terms of dealing with your spouse or whatever like that, well, let me go beyond that, further backward. So I think it's interesting that sometimes I think we have a tendency to assume or to think that everybody who says that they love God and serve God are supposed to be safe. And I'm going to expand that even further, and we can get into this a little deeper. I think we even assume that those who go to church are supposed to be safe.
Ooh.
But here's the thing that we really need to kind of like, because we're talking about God being at the center of it all, right? And so we can't exclude the church from this conversation. The church has to be a part of this conversation. And so I think sometimes as people who as a single person who's looking for somebody to date and to be with and possibly marry, we assume that that is a safe space, a safe place where we can actually, get with people who may or may not be of the same like mind. But the reality is, as much as we would like to believe that these people serve God, and when they say they serve God or they love God, and we see them in church on a regular basis, you still have to have a conversation with these people. Don't sit there and assume because you see them in church every Sunday with their Sunday best on, or they have the lingo or the vernacular of a God-fearing woman or a God-fearing man, that they actually do fear God. Let's be real about this, because a lot of times we get some of these people that are in church ain't in church for the right reason. And not only are they not in church for the right reason, but they're looking for you.
Wow.
They looking for you as to be prey for the predator. And so my thing is, if God is really the center of your life, and if you really want him to be the center of your relationship, brothers and sisters, if you will allow me, I really do believe that it's going to have an effect on your behavior in terms of how you live your life, how you talk, how you do, how you treat people. See, before you get to the whole relationship aspect of this, you got to get you together first. It's not until you get you together that you become attractive and that you will to others who are also looking for the same thing. Now, again, we, even in us attracting one another, we still have to have a conversation. We still have to talk to each other. Here's my thing, and I said this to Charles earlier before the show, and I'm going to say it now. We have, as believers, if I'm talking to any believers that are listening right now, we as believers have a tendency to, when we include God in our relationships and we include God in our different connections and everything like that, that he's going to make everything work together for our good. You know what I mean? That he's just going to snap his finger. He's going to eliminate all the problems. He's going to get rid of all the issues. We're not going to have to do nothing but sit back and enjoy the ride. But my dear brothers and sisters, what I need to let you know this evening is the fact that God requires you to work at what he's given you. He requires you to be responsible with your relationship. Stop looking over the yonder for the answer, okay? And start working out, as Paul said, your soul salvation within the parameters of your relationship. You want him to solve the argument, when in fact, if you would just give up on what you have and allow the other person to do what they want to do, maybe we could have some peace in here somewhere. And so my point is, and I'm bringing this to a close, my point is, you are expecting God to do what he's expecting what you to do. When you're going to get the work. When you're going to God is not going to sit there and solve all your problems. Now, when he's giving you the intellect to do it, now when he's giving you the resources to do it, you want to enter a relationship, he blessed you with a relationship. Now, figure this out. How are we going to make this work for all of our good? How are we going to do that? What's up?
Wow, that's good stuff, man. Hey, here you go. All right. No, but you made some amazing points, man. Let me say, Demetrius said God is not a magician, but guess what? We do look at him to turn. We look towards him to make these magical tricks appear in our life without doing. See, this is an era where we don't want to do the work.
Right.
We just want to speak words. Because see, unfortunately, we live in a time where we are filled with captured snippets of sermons, of powerful words without hearing the whole sermon. You just hear parts that sound good. So now we're living off of appetizers as opposed to wholesome meals.
Right.
Once upon a time, I came up where we sat through, there was no social media. We sat through that long word, whether we thought it was amazing or like, oh, what time is it? Either way, we did it. And so I come from an era where I've seen women do church. Like they were actively active in church. They availed themselves to be used. However, nowadays, with the world being the way it is, the woman being used in church is her sending you a Jake's clip, or somebody sending you a clip on your phone. This inspired me. But did it take any of you? Did it cause you to do work?
Yeah.
Most of us, we lay on our pillow and be inspired and cry and send in money. But what does that do? What are you doing actively to show that you have a reflective relationship of God? Because a lot of go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just want to jump in here and I want to say this, and I want to make this as real as I possibly can. Me and my wife have a wonderful relationship. We really, really do. I praise God. I appreciate the grace that she is in my life. God knows I do. But the reality is that we have moments when we do not agree. The reality is we have moments when we are in total disagreement about things. We see things differently. We have different perspectives, okay? Which means in our disagreements, if in our arguments, we have to come together and figure some stuff out. Sometimes it means tears. Sometimes it means frustration. Sometimes it means anger. But here's the thing. And I want y'all to catch this. As much as I include God in my relationship, I realize and recognize that I have a responsibility to work out whatever I need to work out. That means I'm deliberately, habitually putting in work every day. I'm making sure that things are done. I'm making sure that the lines of communication are always open. Even if we're not seeing eye to eye on everything, we don't have to see eye to eye on everything. It ain't necessary for me to see eye to eye on everything. But we do have a commitment to work out whatever issues that we have. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. When are we going to put the work in to make these things work? We want God to work all things according to his good pleasure, according concerning us. We want God to do it, but now he's looking at us saying, when you going to do the work I gave you to do, Adam?
Yeah.
When you going to do that work?
Let me ask you this, Adam, for those that may have this situation. People are in a relationship or marriage. One party or the other is desiring God to be at the center.
Okay.
But the other person is like, look, you let him be at your center, but this is what I know that I can do at the strength of my own hands to try to fix this problem. How does a person handle that scenario?
Okay. I was going to say one thing, but I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to switch it up. Let's listen.
All right.
So one person wants God, or they're trying to include God, while the other person wants to just work at what they need to do.
Well, you know, because not everybody has the same level of conviction towards God. Right. So some people have seen his wonders and others may not, or may not have totally subscribed, as Bruce put. So, you know, that kind of situation.
Yeah. I mean, again, you cannot neglect the work that's necessary in order to make this successful. In our conversations, if we are not seeing eye to eye on God being a part of our lives, then I got this quote for you, and it's a scripture. How can two walk together unless they agree? We can't, we're not on the same path. If you don't want to include God in this, and I do want to include God in this, then why are we together? Because we're walking two different paths here. We're not in agreement on an essential, fundamental thing. Okay, so we can't even get to the other stuff until we really resolve this fundamental issue in terms of how we are going to enact our faith. Now, if we're both including God and God is a part of this, then we can make this work. We can make this successful. But if the other person doesn't want to include God, I don't know how that really works. I honestly don't know. I mean, and I don't mean to be harsh with it. But the reality is, I could not see myself with somebody who does not believe in God. I could not see myself with somebody who doesn't have faith, because faith is all I know. Faith is how I live every day. And so if you're living faith to faith every single day, how do you get with somebody who doesn't have faith? How do you do that? How do you breach that gap?
Good point. How do you, for those who may not know, because just like you said earlier, we live in a time where everyone is, oh yeah, I'm rocking with God, right? So that's what everybody's claiming.
Yeah.
So just give an example, and I'll talk about an example of where instances may come up where the fruit of that relationship will either show up or it'll be absent
Yeah.
when you're confronted with something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying that basically, okay, so here's the thing. Again, and I said it before, I'm gonna say it one more time. I'm going to be able to identify the level of your commitment by your behavior, by your walk, by your psychology, by the way that you speak. I'm going to be able to determine that as I continue on in the relationship with you. I'm going to be able to see that. You know what I'm saying? And again, God does not eliminate the problems when you include him, but he does give guidance if you are open and receptive to receive him. And he makes it a little bit easier in terms of dealing with your issues. Now, again, if God is not your center, I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying to figure out how you made it. That's why.
Well, you know what? But in reality, the reason so many of us limp along in this reality is because our new reality of church and all things spiritual, it's been made easy. Everything is virtual. We go in, we don't, we still connect. So it's a real laissez-faire type of mode happening. And so where once upon a time it took physical decisions to show up at the church door and stay in there, right? It was different. Nowadays, you can say you did, you didn't. Oh, I turned it on a little bit, I clicked off. So relationships are difficult. Spiritual relationships are difficult to measure until adversity shows up. When adversity shows up, you see where both people stand spiritually. When things happen, one person that may be cool because they like, you know what, that's okay because I know where to go to handle this problem. The other person, nah, I'm tired of this. I'm going to do, your flesh shows up. That's the opportunity you're going to see, flesh or spirit, when adversity shows up. So that's typically a way to kind of see what you are dealing with by way of people everyone's giving you the whole, I'm a part of the God movement. He's sitting at the center. But if he's not going to be at the center when trouble comes, then he's not at our center, period.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'll go further than that since we all the way in Sunday school this morning. Just all the way in Sunday school. My question would be, what kind of fruit are you bearing? Where your fruit at? Where your fruit at? Where, because your fruit is going to be the thing that's going to be indicative of the relationship that you're in. I'm producing the kind of fruit that's sweet. I'm producing the kind of fruit that people want to eat. I'm producing that kind of fruit because the Spirit of God is living on the inside of me. So my wife is receiving the benefit of the fruit that I produce, which is as a result of relationship that I have with God.
Right.
Now, my question is to everybody else, are you producing that kind of fruit because you're in a relationship with God? Because your relationship with God is going to have a direct impact with your relationship with everybody else. So if your relationship with God is non-existent, I'm trying to figure out how you have a relationship with everybody else.
Because your relationship with him reflects how you love others.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it reflects how you love others. So
it is the example and the template by which we know how to love one another. That is the perfect example of a real relationship.
Yeah. And then so it begs the question. And this is to everybody who may find themselves in this situation before we were talking about this today. If we are not allowing God to be at the center, governing our existence, then who is sitting there? That's what we got to ask ourselves. If he's not there, who's there? And I think we may not like that other answer, the default answer, because typically it's going to be one or the other, right? It's either he's there or something adverse is there. So I think this is a pivotal moment to learn and say, who's really driving this, right? What am I what am I availing myself to allow to drive this relationship / marriage. If I can honestly say, I'm not honestly giving space to allow God to be who he is and do what he does, then I am giving space to the enemy. And I'm allowing him to wreak havoc in what I call love. But it's really dysfunction on its way to a shipwreck.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it's important too, with all that we have said today. I think it's really also important that we take a moment to recognize the stuff that's in us, the issues that we have, our idiosyncrasies and our inadequacies and our deficiencies. We need to be able to see us for who we really are. Not who we present ourselves to others, but how we really are. And I really do believe God honors honesty. Be honest about where you really are. He honors your honesty and being said, okay, you know what, this is how I am. You see me as I really am. So I can't fake it with you. But if you help me get me together and become the center of my life, then I can make you the center of my relationships and everything else that comes from that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's real.
Man, this is good stuff. You know, we're going to you know, this is the part of the service where we get the deacon. We're gonna get Deacon Bruce to bring the oil down the front where this is altar call.
You know, not bring the oil.
No, I'm kidding. But no, Bruce said something good. He says, Bruce says, I have never been with a woman that after an argument came back to me and said, I prayed and I want to apologize. God showed me to me. Wow. That's profound.
Wow.
Very much so. Because I mean, and then again, people, Bruce is saying that in the voice of man to woman, but it's vice versa. It's reality. You know, we get into these drag out arguments and we offend one another, and we under the name of relationship, love, and marriage, and then we turn the other cheek and keep it moving. No kind of healing taking place. No, you know, bringing a resolve to the resentment. It's just, the arrogance and the haughtiness lives and wins. You know what I'm saying? And
you know what? No, it can. I just want to say, so. And like I think I said this at the beginning. I said I know that I don't know everything, and often when you enter into disputes or arguments or things like that, we have a tendency to assume that we're the right party, that we have been wrong, we are the victim, and we are right. But every now and then, you have to recognize that you're wrong. You have to be able to see that, no, I wasn't right with that one. That was totally out of order. I was out of pocket on that. And here's the thing. I don't lose anything saying I'm sorry. And then as much as we should pray, we should absolutely pray. Some things we should just know. Not that you shouldn't pray, but some things you should just know. You know you were wrong to say what you said and to do what you did. You need to go back and you need to apologize.
Make it right. Make it right.
Make it right. Yeah. That's all you need to do. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes because we want to be apologized to, we're expecting the other person to come to us and to apologize to us first. If you apologize to me first and say you're sorry first, then I might think about apologizing to you.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you love that person as much as you say you do, let me take it a step higher. If you love God as much as you say you do, then you will humble yourself and say, you know what, babe? I was totally out of pocket. I was wrong. I should not have done that. I love you more than that. This is not, I apologize. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And I guarantee you, Charles, I live and breathe. So many relationships could be saved just with those few words.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that is permitting those two people, as we go back to the top of the hour, are living in a space of humility. It takes humbleness to get there. because the real reason people don't apologize or don't see themselves in the equation as wrong is because in most relationships, someone wants to reside as the subservient head, and they don't want to look like the person at the lower stance.
Right.
Because that means I have to look you in the eye, mano to mano. I would rather look down to you and have you look up to me. Wow. That's the reality of a lot of relationships. People don't want to, people feel as though we are so arrogant, you know, when it comes to disagreements, we feel as though you way over there and what I know is right. So until you're ready to come back around here, this argument is going to stay live and void. You understand what I'm saying? And so it takes humbleness to get to a place like you described to say, you know what, like one person went their way to work, the other person went their way to work, but both of you all are sort of grieving because you know you didn't do right by one another earlier that day before work. And so you are clamoring to get back either on the phone, text messages, or when you get home to say, you know what, I really didn't do right. Because one of the worst things you can do is kick off your day wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing like an argument in the morning time or at the opposite end of the night when you're trying to go to sleep and somebody don't want to let it go. That's horrible.
Yeah.
But Bruce said, that's me. I'm the arrogant believer. But that's just, I'm telling you, it's hard to get that out of yourself. And even though Bruce is joking, honestly, some of us men, you know, I'm not going to say I certainly haven't ran into some bull-headed women. But most of us men are stubborn. And we're stubborn because if we're honest, it's ingrained in us a certain level of responsibility, a certain level of kinship, leadership, certain level of covering responsibility. So sometimes we fool ourselves to feeling like we're at a space in that responsibility that really we aren't yet. And so what's happening is a fight is going on to say, I don't care if I ain't there yet. Respect me that I am already there. Like give me a line of credit that I'm already there and leave me be. And so that causes us to sit back and just be stewing in our own way, where sometimes we could just kind of bury the hatchet for the sake of peace in the house. Now, I will say this before we turn the corner. Sometimes this isn't a war. This isn't an allegation against them. But
oh, Lord.
Women have to understand this one thing. It's sometimes in some relationships, sometimes like women can talk to men. And I already know, I already hear it. I'm ready to say it after that.
Here we go. Y'all not ready?
Will talk to men like they're children. And here we go. Well, don't act like children. Listen, irregardless, because from our perspective, y'all act like a whole lot of things that we don't call you. Act like a lot of things. Nonetheless, respect has to reside between the two. That's the gateway to humility. Respect, because if there's no respect there's not going to be no humility. You got to have respect between one another, and that's the thing that causes you to be receptive and open to burying the hatchet or fixing things. But I can promise you, if one person or the other is not feeling respected, you might as well keep on dousing oil on the gas because it's not going to get resolved. So we have to have that perspective of respect and understand. Sometimes when people talking to people, you be like, have you forgotten? I'm not 7. But people can get real carried away. So you just got to, hey, look now, let's bring this on back in. But yeah, I mean, you got to be able to have them conversations because that respect piece is monumental. Make no mistake about it.
I mean, it is monumental. I'm not 7. I'm not 7 years old.
Yeah, I ain't 7, man. Let's get it together.
I actually, so one of the things that I do when it comes to having hard conversations or difficult conversations, I always put myself in that person's position just to see how I would want to be addressed for a particular issue. I hope we're not doing this. I hope we're not just going into conversations without any preparation, without any type of of meditation or contemplation in terms of how we should speak to one another. I'm hoping, Charles, I'm really hoping that we are more thoughtful than that, that we aren't just, like I say, just nilly-willy, just going in and just saying anything we feel.
Oh yeah,
I'm grown and I can say what I want. I just hope,
yes, we
that
are.
there are some mature people that are listening today to the sound of my voice that are willing to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to put myself in your position and I'm going to speak to you as somebody would speak to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I really believe it's important to develop the skill of diplomacy and tact. Not only that, it's also important to develop how you speak to someone, because it's not necessarily what you say, it's always how you say it, the attitude behind it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's very key. That's very important. It's one thing that I have insisted upon, even in my relationship with my wife, when we first started dating one another. One of the things that I told her not to do was, do not text me serious, sensitive information.
You heard that? She said she's coming right down the hallway. You don't talk about me in my house like that. Okay, you lying, but okay, fine.
Oh God! Because a lot of times when you're texting people serious information, they don't get the nuance of what you texted them. They don't get the tone of the text. You can only get the tone in talking to the person face to face, looking at their body language.
Them text messages are serious and can get so misconstrued.
Yes.
I mean, that's a powerful point. I mean, it's like you said, some things are better. I mean,
have a conversation.
To have a conversation, but you gotta. Can we put timers on conversations? Because some conversations will be infinite. I don't believe in infinite conversation. That's with those there's a difference between conversations and you going to hear me out. It's a difference.
Right. There's a
conversation is back and forth, reciprocal, looking to reach a resolve. Not just I'm gonna spill all on you what you haven't cleaned up along the way. That's what we got to make the difference. And so, last but not least, I would say this thing. You made me think of this one thing. Is when we're having these exchanges and these relational debuts of disagreement, what I've learned is a lot of us, let me say, should ask, if we don't ask God for nothing, ask God to allow us to be able to receive constructive criticism and also allow us to be able to see ourselves. Like sometimes a person, what I've learned over the years is people could get you, hear all of your mess, your dirt, your stuff. But if you shift it and put the mirror on them, it's a fire, full along fire. And that's amazing to me, because it's like, if I can show you me, you need to show me you. And it shouldn't be anything crazy about it. And that's, to me, that's real love. If I can show you, pull back my coat and show you all the wounds and scars without you judging me, or trust it, with me trusting that you won't judge me, the same should be able to happen in return to you. I should be able to talk to you and say, ask you something, even if it makes you uncomfortable. If you trust me that I'm not going to mishandle you or the situation, we're not going to turn this into a 10-alarm fire. It's just going to be a good, healthy discussion and a fair exchange, as we say. And leave it at that.
That's real.
So that's good. This was pretty good. I must admit, people, this subject did scare me a little bit, even though I knew it was a good direction to go in. I was just like, but no, it was good. This was great. As a matter of fact, I think I'll go and I may admit myself into the monastery class and
you know what, dude?
Divinity school and just go into the Ministry of Arts and come back out with my collar. No, I'm just
you're good. You don't. No, we don't need you to do that. You fine. You good.
Oh gosh.
You are good.
Anyway, yeah. All right. Hey, y'all. Much love to y'all. We appreciate it. I love how you all dig in and comment in, because it makes it feel like we all in the same room. That you all are, tapping in and getting this together. We appreciate it, even when we see backsliders like Trish try to come to Jesus. We'll pray for you. Look at Trish's comments. Trish got to go to church. But anyway, we appreciate it, Trish, and all your Bruce, all of y'all, everybody. My man, hey, that's my boy, Mr. Sitting on Mill. That's my boy from Maryland. But anyway, we appreciate you all for tuning in, man, and showing much love. We appreciate it, how you all are just faithful. It's hard doing this week in to week out as it is. So when you all show up, it forces us to show up. So we appreciate it, and much love to y'all. And as we'll keep grinding these wheels out, next week, same time, Thursdays, 4:30. Appreciate it.
Make sure you share and like this. Share this post. Share this with all of your friends, all of your family. I guarantee you they will appreciate and be blessed by what they hear on today. I guarantee you that. So definitely share and like this as much as you possibly can, guys.
Yes. We have 2 new people that got saved. We have Chandra and Marlena. You guys can go to the back and they'll talk to you and give you the church campus. And we'll see you at the service next week. And we'll talk to you about baptism and all that. Thank you. But anyway, appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. You know, 529 will walk you guys, and Danielle walk you through the steps of the church, and everything will be fine. We'll see.
Can we just go? Can we just go?
All right. Okay. I'm getting tired now. All right. You guys take care. Be blessed. All right.
See you, man.